What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to our first ever LCC Gameday podcast. I'm here with my co-host Eddie. What's up everybody? And myself, Billy. We're going to be discussing all your weekly matchups. We're going to be talking about our game of the week, discussing injuries and trades that happened the previous week. Alright guys, so let's get started. What happened in the preseason, what was going on the last couple of weeks. Biggest thing that happened this week was Harold Landry, the linebacker for the Barnyard, tore his ACL. He is now out for this season. It's going to be a big hurt for the Barnyard, looking for a good pass rusher. We also have the Steel Curtain. We made a trade for Roquan Smith, Josh Jacobs, and a 2022 second-round pick. Mr. 295 also got Austin Eckler, Jordan Hicks, a 4th round, and a 7th round pick for 2023. That's going to be a good trade for, in my opinion, the Steel Curtain receives a valuable running back in Josh Jacobs and a linebacker in Roquan Smith. Mr. 295 did get Austin Eckler, so that's not a bad deal there. Also, we have Give Me More, makes a trade, receives Travis Kelce. Once the janitor gets Juju Smith-Schuster, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Azeez Al-Shaair. That's more of a quality for quantity trade. It's definitely okay on both sides. I think both sides are going to be benefiting from that. Another trade, Mr. 295 receives Gabe Davis and Derek Stingley Jr. So he's got his wide receiver and DB locked in. Shuttlecocks gets Chase Young, an elite pass rusher, and a 9th round pick for next year. And the final trade I'm going to discuss is Detroit Bad Boys. He received Patrick Queen from the Sandstorm Troopers for a 5th round pick. Billy has had a rough offseason, so it's needless to say it's going to benefit his team by getting Patrick Queen.
I really think that's a really good trade for Billy. I think Patrick Queen, he didn't have his best year last year, but I still think he can be an elite linebacker. So I think just only giving up a 5th was a great move for a hurting lineup right now. Very, very badly hurting lineup.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right, so one thing we're going to be Game Day podcast is we're going to be keeping track of our records, like Billy and I's records of how well we are with picking games. And so we're going to call that LCC Pick'em. So every week there's going to be 12 games that are played. So Billy and I are going to make our predictions. And then if I get 6 right and 6 wrong, my record for this week is 6-6. And if Billy got 7 right, 5 wrong, he's 7-5. Excuse me. And so on and so forth. We'll keep up with it throughout the season.
And that's going to be fun to keep up with. And it'll also kind of give us an idea of who's got the better insight on how these games are going to be played. But it is fantasy. We'll never know.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, we get surprised every week. So.
All right, now it's time to go to our game. Super Bowl from last year.
All right, this is your Game of the Week 1 matchup. And let's go ahead and look at these lineups. So the Spurs are starting Trevor Lawrence. Looking for a big bounce back year, a big prove himself year. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to start off pretty hot. Playing Washington, that's a pretty good matchup. I would say that Trevor Lawrence is going to put up close to his projected points, maybe a little better actually for his first week. So that's a pretty good matchup there at quarterback. I mean, I know that, of course, my team, Beck for G-Reg, has Josh Allen, so it's going to be a tough matchup for them there. But all in all, Trevor Lawrence is going to produce some good numbers first week out. Don't know if it's going to be enough to match Josh Allen, of course, but we'll say Beck for G-Reg gets the win at quarterback. Eddie, you want to do running backs?
Yeah, sure. Also, just a little sidebar on Trevor Lawrence. He does have ETN healthy this year, which I think actually helps him as a fantasy quarterback. So I think that will help, but obviously going up against Josh Allen week 1 is not very easy. So obviously the Spurs probably has the best running back core in the league. I mean, not maybe, they do. He has Derrick Henry, who was having a record-breaking season before he got hurt, and then CMC, who when healthy is the greatest fantasy player of all time. And then on the other side, BP, you have probably the best running back in the league right now. So this is about as strong as it gets. It's just y'all are probably gonna punch each other in the mouth a little bit. I can see all 3 running backs that are going to be starting for. I can see all of them easily breaking 30. So I think that running back, they're both really strong. It's really a toss up, if you're taking into consideration. Let's just say Derrick Henry's his starting running back, and he has CMC as the flex. At running back, I think Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry are super close in points this week. Maybe they're both pushing 35-40. I think they both have a really, really strong first game.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I mean, Derrick Henry is coming off of a injury season, but he's looking really healthy. That's going to be a tough matchup between him and Jonathan Taylor, man. They're both powerhouses. They're both going to get the rock fed to them week in and week out. But for this week 1 matchup, I kind of like Jonathan Taylor's matchup a little better. The Texans defense, of course, it's nah, man. The Texans defense is going to be struggling this year. I'm not saying the Giants are going to be much better, but I think Jonathan Taylor is ready to eat with the Texans matchup. So I think I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor in that matchup. What do you think, Eddie? I hate to be selfish.
I like Jonathan Taylor week 1 just because Derrick Henry is going to be Derrick Henry, but he also was hurt the second half of the year, and so we'll see. I like Jonathan Taylor, though, in this matchup. Wide receivers, he's got Mike Evans, who one of the best receivers in the league. I'm just a little worried about Mike Evans. I don't know how Tom Brady's going to look. He's been in and out during the preseason. He's retiring on us. He's coming back, so I'm worried about Mike Evans this week. I still think he probably gets his projection around 22, 23. I don't think he puts up massive numbers, especially with that Cowboys secondary. They're pretty strong. Jerry Jeudy on your team, BP. I actually love that pick by you. I think it was waiver wire. You got him right.
Yeah,
that was a great waiver wire pick. I think he'll be the number 1 for Russell Wilson this year. So a lot of unknowns because he's with a new quarterback. So, but I think he's going to do really well. I'm going to lean Mike Evans at wide receiver just because of who he is and because we don't know much about this season yet. But if I'm just looking at that matchup, I'm going with Mike Evans. But it's going to be really close. I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be really, really good.
I'm going to have to agree with you on Mike Evans there. Yeah, Mike Evans is definitely the better option. He's a true wide receiver 1. Jerry Jeudy is coming into a situation where, for one, he was injured last season, had a different quarterback, and he's also got a wide receiver 1 battle with teammate Courtland Sutton. So I don't know who's going to be Russell Wilson's favorite target this season. It may be back and forth, kind of like it was with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf last year. Not sure he's going to be spreading the ball out, how many targets Jerry Jeudy's going to get. So I think Mike Evans is definitely going to be a more reliable wide receiver to go with, especially this week. Even though the Cowboys secondary is great, like you were saying, I like Mike Evans this week a lot more than Jerry Jeudy. I'd say I have a lot more confidence in him. Moving on to defensive line, Cam has DeForest Buckner versus the Texans. I'm sure the Texans aren't going to have the best offensive line, even though they have been beefing it up in the draft a few a few years now. Still have Davis Mills at quarterback. So with that being said, I'm not sure how well DeForest Buckner is going to do, but anything that runs the middle, that man is going to eat up. So I'm sure he's going to pile up some tackles. On my team, I have Sam Hubbard. He is coming off an injury season as well. He had a mediocre season last year, but he has a big boom potential. Plenty of sack potential, especially against the Steelers with their new quarterback situation. They may be starting Mitch Trubisky week 1. Sam Hubbard has the chance to get in there and disrupt that passing game and the running game. I mean, he can rack up tackles as well. So for that matchup, I think I'm going to go with Sam Hubbard just because of the potential of Mitch Trubisky starting at quarterback for the Steelers. But DeForest Buckner does have the tendency to rack up a lot of inside game. So
I disagree. I think, especially with the increase in points for a defensive tackle, I think that shows in week 1. I think we're going to see kind of like the changes we made, and I think DeForest Buckner kind of just eats up that Texas backfield. A couple tackles for loss probably, and he probably gets a sack. But Sam Hubbard's not a scrub.
That is a great point. I'm glad you mentioned the score change for defensive tackles.
Yeah, that's like we'll get onto it in a little bit, but like I have a defensive tackle that I just picked up in a late round, and like I saw he was projected 34. I was like, that can't be right. But anyway, linebacker we got Eric Kendrick for the Spurs, and then Bobby Okereke for G-Reg. I like Eric Kendricks in this matchup. I think he's just the guy in Minnesota. He makes plays. He's all over the field. He has like one of the highest motors in the NFL in my opinion. Like I love watching him play. He's all over the place. I think Bobby Okereke he's a really really good linebacker for Indianapolis. I just think Eric Kendrick has the potential for 40-45 this week.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially with Aaron Rodgers not knowing what to do with the ball in Green Bay. Of course, he's going to try to move it downfield, but with not having a definite target to go to, Eric Kendricks is going to be everywhere, making tackles, breaking up passes, that kind of thing. And with Bobby Okereke's situation in Indianapolis, with Shaquille Leonard being out, of course, they say he's practicing this week, so he may be ready to go for week 1, but it's questionable, of course. If Darius Leonard does not see the field, Bobby Okereke will take on a bigger role and hopefully get some more tackles for me, of course. More stops, more pass breakups for that kind of matter. But if Darius Leonard does see the field, I feel like his role is going to be taking a back seat, and he's going to see a similar output that we saw last season. Averaging in the high 20s, low 30s. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, BP.
No, you're good.
No, I was just gonna transition into the defensive back category. But
go for it.
Okay, so BP. By the way, guys, I'm trying my hardest to call him BP, not Billy, because to me he's Billy, but I know we got a couple Billies in this league, so I'm gonna try hard to say BP. But if I say Billy, and hopefully you can understand which one I'm referring to. But BP, dude, it throws me off because I met Billy Ray like later, like, and y'all had already had that friend group for a while, so it had been established that you were BP. But when I met you. You just let me call you Billy, and so it's just become a problem now.
Yeah.
So, Beg for G-Reg's got Budda Baker on his side. He's an absolute stud. I mean, last year was like a down year for him, and didn't he still average over 30 last year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like last year, I remember thinking like, wow, Budda Baker's having like a down year, and he still averaged 30 plus. I think he bounces back this year. He's playing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for tackles, I believe, in that game in the secondary. I think Budda has a big game. Jesse Bates for Cincinnati. I think this is a great matchup for him, especially if with the Steelers quarterback situation, he may get a pick or two. Hot take. He may get a pick or two this weekend. So I think they both ball out. They're probably neck and neck in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. That is a toss-up in the air. I have no idea who's going to come out better on these. I like both these matchups. If I had to take a pick, I'd probably say Jesse Bates because, like you said, the uneasy quarterback situation they have in Pittsburgh right now, he is bound to get a lot of pass breakups, maybe even a pick or two. So I think I'm going to swing Jesse Bates in this one. Although Buda Baker is playing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I think he's going to have a lot more difficult time in getting the interception because of Patrick Mahomes' ball placement. Man is a beast. Moving on to flex, let's go Xavier McKinney against the one and only Christian McCaffrey.
Don't even talk about that.
Kind of a no-brainer. Let's go CMC for the win.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Xavier McKinney gets in on some tackles on Derrick Henry. Because maybe Derrick Henry breaks off a few runs into the secondary. Maybe Xavier McKinney, what's the word I'm looking for? Words, Eddie. Words. He benefits from that. So I don't know. But I think you can't ever vote against CMC, especially in a flex role. Like, that is insane. So the Spurs has that going for him. Who's your pick for this game?
I'm going to take the Spurs just by defense alone. His defense is a better defense than what I'm running with right now. I just feel like it's going to be more consistent. But I'm going to take the Spurs. And, of course, Christian McCaffrey just adds a little bonus to it. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Spurs by about 15 in this matchup.
Okay. I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think you take this, man. And there's no other reason other than that's how the universe works. You deserve to win the Little Critter Bowl, and you did it. You had the greatest, in my opinion, like the greatest team fantasy's ever seen. Like you had no business losing that game. So I think the fantasy gods pull out a win for you today, BP. That's what I'm going with.
I appreciate that. All right, guys. So we are going to move on to. Are you ready? All right, for week 1, we got some good matchups coming your way. The first one we've already talked about, of course, was game of the week. That was the Spurs and Beck for G-Reg. The second one is going to be Protect the Booty versus Give Me More. Eddie. Just a little insight on these teams and what we can expect.
All right. So, Protect the Booty, Give Me More. Is it Protect the Booty? That's Jameson's brother, right? Yeah. I'm not wrong, right? Or no, am I wrong? I think I'm right. You know what? I'm right. Because Protect the Booty is in my division. So, so we got brother on brother here. If I'm not mistaken, he was in the league before a few years back. But anyway, so on paper, I'm just going to go, I think Give Me More just has a lot more talent. He's got Kyler Murray. He's running, it looks like he's starting DeAndre Swift at running back. He's actually got both of the Detroit running backs, which is kind of like the same thing you did, Billy. BP. You have a handcuff in Indianapolis. He has the Detroit handcuff. So he's going with DeAndre Swift. It looks like just got Travis Kelce in that trade. By the way, Travis Kelce, he's always been a stud. He's always been Travis Kelce, but now he's the clear number 1 in Kansas City. So he may have a monster year. DeMarcus Lawrence, a defensive end, he's always been a stud, will continue to be a stud. Alua Khan at linebacker. I just think he just completely overpowers Protect the Booty in this first week. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with Cam Akers with Protect the Booty. I'm not sure how well George Kittle performs with with Trey Lance at quarterback. So I'm just going to go with Give Me More. The next game we got is Billy. Your prediction. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. I'm going to take Give Me More as well. I just think his team is he drafted very well. I think he's made some plays with his lineup that are definitely going to be beneficial to him, especially his offseason move for getting Foye Oluokun and Kyler Murray. Man, those are some pieces that you just cannot replace. So I think that Give Me More is going to take this one home.
All right. So the next matchup is Roebuck Leprechauns versus Eastside Brawlers, another family matchup, father versus son. And so this one, like on paper, it looks like I think Roebuck Leprechauns has a really good team. I'll start with him. Pat has Tua quarterback, which is a revitalized offense. He's got new running backs. He's got obviously Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. I think he's poised for a good season. I don't love the matchup against the Patriots, but I still think he does well. He's got Joe Mixon, my guy. It hurts so bad to let him go, but as far as draft picks were concerned, I was hurting so bad I had to try and get rid of him and get some capital. So I know Joe Mixon's going to go off. He's starting Cortland Sutton, which a lot of people like Cortland Sutton. Like I said, I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be the number one, but I still think so. I think that's not the best position for him at wide receiver. He's got Josh Allen at defensive end, which is very weird. Billy, do you know why he's only projected 8 points? Like I was looking up the Jacksonville depth chart, and he's starting, isn't he? Like,
yeah, he's definitely the starter over there. I think the projections might be a little wonky because they moved him around a little bit. But I do think Josh Allen is projected to have a good day, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to get 8. I think he's going to get far more than that. So,
I think he's pushing 25-30. I think he has a really good game against Washington.
Yeah, I would say at least 20 to 25. Yeah.
He's got Jordan Brooks, a linebacker. I like him. He had a good year last year. He's questionable though, but I think he's good to go. And then he's got Kyle Duggar and Minka. I love those two. Defensive backs. Eastside Brawlers got Matt Ryan, who's got a great matchup against Houston. Maybe the veteran shows out in week 1. He's got Rashad Penny at running back, who will get most of the carries out there in Seattle. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know much about him, to be quite honest with you. It looks like last year he averaged 19, so we shall see. Billy, I don't know if you know any more about him. He's also
Amon-Ra St. Brown. What was that?
I just noticed he's flexing a wide receiver.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is going to be. They're trying to say he's going to be number 1 in Detroit.
Okay, who's throwing to him?
He's very good. He's got a lot of young talent. I definitely think that he will produce. Now, with Jared Goff being a quarterback, I'm not sure on Amon-Ra St. Brown. But A.J. Brown, new wide receiver 1 in Philadelphia.
I'm still not big on Jalen Hurts, though. As a passer, a fantasy passer, I don't know. Maybe it's just a mental block. I just don't see A.J. Brown being a top 10 wide receiver. I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. I would say that he has a lot of upside. He has the athletic ability to be that guy. But in the situation he's in, sharing targets with Devontae Smith, I don't know if it's going to be a top-tier wide receiver option. Or even a top-tier flex, for that matter.
With all that being said, I think I'm going to go Eastside Brawlers in this matchup. I think Brian Burns has a good day against Cleveland, against Jacoby Brissett, and then I think C.J. Mosley has an amazing day against Baltimore. Obviously, he's a stud, and so I think Eastside Brawlers pulls one out against Pat.
Oh, nice. I was going to say Eastside Brawlers, in my opinion, has the biggest question mark across their entire lineup right now. I mean, your quarterback has a brand new team. Your running back has been a third string for the last 2 years. Both your wide receivers are, for one, having a prove-it year, and 2, on a new team. The only definite sure points are going to be C.J. Mosley and Brian Burns. Everyone else is in a new role. So, I mean, with all these unanswered questions, I have to say that Robert Leprechaun is going to take this one, just because his team has proven that they can put up points and score. So, I'm going to take Roebuck.
Awesome.
All right, and moving on to the next. Detroit Bad Boys.
Top tier fantasy name, by the way. Peanut Butter Cup, amazing. I love it.
I think we got a little jealousy going on.
No,
But
he
anyways,
he actually has he deserves it. I was just trying to be gross with mine. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
you're good.
Do we have to talk about this one at all? By the way,
You can't be mean to Billy. We're gonna discuss it for him. I'll break down his
break it down.
team, if that's what you want to call it. So I'm just gonna start out by saying we gave you the best we could, Billy. At the draft, of course, you got your team about the 8th round. So there wasn't much we could do to salvage, but we got you the best lineup we could. And I know you've made a trade this week for Patrick Queen. I think it's going to help you out a lot. At least you have your Detroit quarterback. Am I right? I mean, go Lions. But I have to say that I think Jared Goff, he's going to be your consistency guy. I don't think it's going to be a big consistency. Of course, it's going to be a mediocre consistency. But Jared Goff is going to be, your lower tier quarterback. But at least you'll get some numbers out of him. As far as running back goes, I'm not sure who your starting running back is going to be. I guess he's going to end up starting Miles Sanders, maybe, if he's available to return. If not, Melvin Gordon. I'm not sure I'm okay with either one of those options as starting running back. Amari Cooper on a new Cleveland team. We're still not sure exactly who's going to be throwing to him. I think, was it Tyrod Taylor? Is that who they have throwing to him right now?
Jacoby Brissett.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So Brissett throwing to Amari Cooper.
I would
Not sure how that's going to...
I would 100% prefer Tyrod Taylor, but he's not on that team, so.
Oh, well. But anyways, yeah, not sure how Amari Cooper is going to turn out. Chandler Jones, the biggest boomer bust player in the history of fantasy. Devin Bush or Leighton Vander Esch or Patrick Queen. I think he's going to obviously start Patrick Queen because he just picked up Patrick Queen. And safety, he's going to go Eddie Jackson. I'm not sure who Billy's going to decide to flex here. But all in all, I mean, everyone on his team is going to be questionable at how many points they're going to get per week. Going against a powerhouse of a team with a Peanut Butter Cup, Colby's team. Lamar Jackson, always a top 5 option at quarterback. Dalvin Cook, easily going to be the ball carrier for Minnesota. He's going to carry the load. Top 10 option at running back. Cooper Kupp, last year set the record for receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. Triple Crown wide receiver. I think he's going to have a comeback season again and still perform great. I don't know if he's going to come out to the caliber of the season he had last year. Definitely a questionable performance against Buffalo he's going to have because that's a tough matchup. Their defensive backs are stacked. But Cooper Kupp is still Cooper Kupp, so you never know. Myles Garrett always has the potential to get a ton of sacks in any given game. Logan Wilson, Cameron Curl, Jordan Poyer, all of these are stud options. It's a no-brainer. I got to take Peanut Butter Cup. What do you think, Eddie?
I'm gonna go Peanut Butter Cup. Sorry, Billy. That's all I got. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm already looking ahead at the Buck Your Mother Once a Janitor breakdown.
Oh no,
Billy,
if you're listening, we love you, buddy.
You know what's funny? I'm just being an asshole, but karma's gonna bite me in the ass. Billy's gonna win, and I'm gonna lose by 50. Just that's what's gonna happen.
All right, moving on to Once a Janitor, Buck Your Mother. So we got Ryan Tannehill for Once a Janitor. He's got on the hot seat this year, honestly. I mean, I know he's proven his spot as a starting quarterback, but this year they drafted Malik Willis. He performed stellar in the preseason. I think they're going to be looking to either trade him in the near future or maybe move him to the back seat and let Malik Willis take the driver's seat as the new franchise QB. I think Ryan Tannehill has a lot to prove against the New York Giants secondary. I think that's it's not the easiest feat. They're kind of a mediocre defensive grade, but I think their defensive backs are pretty good. In Tennessee, I think that he's going to have a lot to prove, like I said. So with Ryan Tannehill going against Jameis Winston's always been a solid quarterback option for fantasy. He always produces big numbers. Of course, last year he's coming off the injury, so it may be a difficult season for him to get back in the swing of things. But I think Jameis Winston is going to be a better option at quarterback just in this matchup. Moving on to running back, Cordero Patterson versus Elijah Mitchell. So in San Francisco, of course, they've had a lot of question marks on who's going to be taking the role at running back, who your main ball carrier is going to be in a run-first offense to begin with. They're very flashy, so I think Elijah Mitchell is going to get a lot of touches, given that he is that lead back role. He is coming off an injury as well, so it's definitely a question mark there. Cordell Patterson, kind of the same type of playmaking ability, is going to be involved more in the passing game and the running game. With this league being a PPR game, Cordero Patterson will get more receptions than Elijah Mitchell will, of course. Given that he gives the same amount of volume that he got in Atlanta last year, Cordero Patterson is going to be the lock for this one. I'm going to take Cordero Patterson in that matchup. Wide receiver Adam Thielen versus Brandon Cooks. So Adam Thielen, of course, is the veteran guy in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson is taking over as wide receiver 1, the clear target for Kirk Cousins there in Minnesota. Adam Thielen, once great fantasy option, now wide receiver 2 material. Brandon Cooks, he is the number 1 option in Houston for quarterback. Is it Davis Mills, Eddie? Is Davis Mills the starting quarterback still?
I can look. You can keep going. I'll look.
Okay. Yeah, so Brandon Cooks, really the only option for wide receiver in Houston. So he may get targets, but depending on who's their quarterback, I'm probably still going to take Adam Thielen in that one.
It's still Davis Mills.
Gotcha, okay. But yeah, probably still going to take Adam Thielen there just because he's proven himself a little more. Brandon Cooks has had on and off seasons. Last year was a pretty good season with Davis Mills, so he may have a good performance, but against an Indianapolis defense, I think he's going to struggle. They're probably going to match him up with Kenny Moore, which is, as we all know, the player that hates me, but one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So definitely going to say Adam Thielen on that one. Joey Bosa versus Austin Johnson. Austin Johnson has been up and down. Joey Bosa, of course, is an elite option, an elite pass rusher. I'm going to take Joey Bosa in that one. Miles Jack. So Miles Jack, as linebacker for the Buck Your Mother team, is a very, very, in my opinion, underrated linebacker. I think he's going to get a lot more volume than they're expecting. He's going to be the guy that's going to be coming in, making the changes, making the plays that he needs to, get the stops that he needs to. He's going against Azeez Al-Shaair in San Francisco. Azeez Al-Shaair has taken a role as your outside protection for San Francisco. Of course, they have Fred Warner blocking up the middle. Azeez Al-Shaair has made a lot of fill-in tackles for those outside run plays in San Francisco. I definitely think that he is a big part of their defense, and he will continue to perform. However, I have to say that Miles Jack is going to get more volume than Azeez Al-Shaair. Azeez Al-Shaair is going to be more of your boom-bust guy. But I'm going to take Miles Jack in that matchup. Safety, DB, I'm going to say Desmond King versus Lewis Cine. Who is Lewis Cine? Lucine. It looks like he's a new safety for Minnesota. Eddie, do you know anything about Lucine?
No.
Okay.
I know
And,
I know he was a stud at Georgia last year, but I don't know anything about like if he's playing a lot this year in Minnesota or what.
Gotcha. I don't know if he's taking the starting role. Of course he is, in my opinion, because of course Isaac started him. But yeah, I think he's going to be a standout rookie. He did really good in Georgia last year, like you said. Desmond King, I don't like necessarily putting cornerbacks in a starting lineup. I'd much rather prefer safeties because of your tackling range. However, going back and looking at last season, Desmond King put up some big numbers. He put up huge games. He's a boomer bust player. So there's just really question marks on both of these guys. I say I'm going to take the rookie just because he's got something to prove, and he's in a safety position where he can get more tackles, of course. So I'm going to take Desmond King in that one. So all in all, these matchups here, I'm going to take Buck Your Mother over Once a Janitor. It didn't do flex. I'm sorry. Juju Smith-Schuster for Once a Janitor, and Levante David. So Levante David, again, I think I'm going to take over Juju because Juju has to prove himself to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going to spread the ball out a lot, so he's not going to get as many targets as you would hope. Levante David is still the lockup middle in Tampa Bay, along with, of course, Devin White. They kind of go hand in hand. They're going to put up similar numbers. Levante David had a good season last year. He's still carrying on that captain role, so I think Levante David is going to prove himself once again this year. So I'm going to go, like I said, Buck Your Mother on this one over Once a Janitor. What do you think, Eddie?
I'm also going to go Buck Your Mother. I'm not a big fan of Will's team right now. I think Adam Thielen, is not the number one there. He's a little older. I don't like that he's starting Austin Johnson. He's got Robert Quinn on the bench, and I think Robert Quinn has a really, really good matchup against San Francisco, and I think he's a stud. So I like Buck Your Mother.
Yeah, I have to say the same thing. Moving on to next matchup, we got two girls, one Kupp, which is our co-host Eddie here, and he's playing Mr. 295. Mr. 295. Let's see. There we go. Mr. 295 is starting Trey Lance at quarterback. Trey Lance, of course, is showing himself for the first time as a starter. He come off the bench last year for Jimmy G, who is now reversed roles. Trey Lance, of course, is looking to show that he is the number one guy in San Francisco. He is the franchise quarterback that they're hoping he is. Two girls, one Kupp, once again, has Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Kirk Cousins is going to be the the Mr. Consistency that you're looking for in a good quarterback. He's going to produce just about the same amount of numbers every week. Last year, he produced mid-30s, low 40s just about every week, which is good enough for government work. That's as far as consistency goes and who's proven themselves. I'm going to take Kirk Cousins over Trey Lance. Trey Lance has a pretty tough matchup with Chicago. Chicago has pretty good defense. They always have. So I'm going to have to say I take Kirk Cousins in this one. Running back matchup. So Mr. 295 newly acquired Austin Eckler in a trade. Austin Eckler versus Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott is going to be splitting carries in Dallas. He's going to be splitting carries with Tony Pollard. They're not 100% sure how much that's going to affect his workload. It may actually help him a little, take some of the heat off of Ezekiel Elliott to make him focus a little more on the passing game. I'm not 100% sure how good of a season Ezekiel Elliott's going to have. I think he's going to be, of course, your top 15 option at running back. But I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, there's a lot of question marks around that offense and what they're planning on doing with Tony Pollard. Austin Eckler, your number one guy in Los Angeles for the Chargers. One of Justin Herbert's favorite targets. I definitely think that Austin Eckler is going to get the touches that he deserves. I don't see anything slowing him down. I'm going to take Austin Eckler in that one. Wide receiver Allen Robinson, newly added receiver for the Rams. He's going against Buffalo. Buffalo is going to be looking to shut down Cooper Kupp, which actually might leave Allen Robinson open on a few plays. The wide receiver that Mr. 295 is going to be putting in the lineup is most likely going to be T. Higgins. I know he just received Gabriel Davis in the trade as well, so that may be an option. But either one of these guys are going to be a wide receiver 2 option for an elite wide receiver 1. Gabriel Davis is behind Stephon Diggs. T. Higgins is behind Jamar Chase. So both of these guys are going to be a wide receiver 2, along with Allen Robinson, who is also a wide receiver 2. So I'm going to say if he starts T. Higgins, it's T. Higgins winning this matchup. If he starts Gabe Davis, I'm going to take Allen Robinson in this matchup. So I'm going to assume that he's taking T. Higgins. So I'll take T. Higgins in that matchup. However, I do think Allen Robinson is going to have a good game. Moving on to defensive line. 2 Girls, 1 Cup is starting Sebastian Joseph Day. He's been up and down last season. He's been played on and off the waivers last season. However, put up some good numbers before his injury about midway through last season. He's your boomer bust defensive line. He's going to get some tackles up the middle, maybe a sack or 2. But as far as consistency goes, he's not going to perform a lot of consistent tackles there. Christian Wilkins, defensive end for Miami. He is consistent. He's putting up big numbers. Last season was a great season for him, and I look for him to come off this year with the same amount of productivity. I think Christian Wilkins is a great matchup with the Patriots. He's going to have a lot of runs coming at him. I look for the Patriots to try to shove the ball down the middle a lot, swing it outside, and Wilkins is going to be standing there waiting for the tackles. So I'm going to take Christian Wilkins in that matchup. At linebacker, Mr. 295 has Jordan Hicks. Given that Blake Martinez doesn't find a team for week 1, he's starting Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks had a pretty good season last season. He produced the numbers that we expected for him to come off of. He was, mid-20s, early 30s, low 30s, excuse me. He's going against Cole Holcomb. Now, Cole Holcomb came off of a season last year where he had a phenomenal performance. He averaged 34 last season, and he's still going to have that same leadership role in that secondary for Washington. He's going to produce the amount of tackles that you're expecting. Cole Holcomb is going to take that matchup. For safety, Eddie, are you flexing Amani Hooker or Logan Ryan?
Flexing Amani Hooker, technically.
Okay. It really doesn't matter, but so Logan Ryan at safety, always a great option. Now, he isn't on a new team this year. That could affect his productivity. I think Logan Ryan, when he was in New York last year, he was the number 1 guy. He got all your stops as the ball was moved downfield, racked up tackles left and right. With that being said, he is going against Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith has always been the number 1 guy in Minnesota. That is going to be a really tough matchup. Harrison Smith coming off a great year last year as well, averaged 40. They both averaged 40, so that is probably going to be the matchup that determines this game. I would say if one of these guys go off and the other doesn't, that's going to be the winner of this matchup here. I'm going to take Harrison Smith just because I know what his productivity is going to be with Minnesota. Not knowing what Logan Ryan is going to do on his new team in Tampa, that's just going to be, a lock there. As far as flex position goes for Mr. 295, I'm not 100% sure who he's going to take. I would say if Blake Martinez does find a team, he will flex Blake Martinez, or he will flex. Let me see. He may end up flexing Derek Stingley Jr. Derek Stingley Jr. has a new starting role this year. I know he's a cornerback, but he did just acquire him in a trade, so he may end up flexing him. If he does flex either one of those guys, I'm still going to take Amani Hooker in that one. Amani Hooker, of course, has proven himself last year, so I think Two Girls, One Cup wins the flex. So all in all, as far as defense goes, I like Two Girls, One Cup's teams better. Offense, I'm liking Mr. 295 better. I'm going to take Eddie in this matchup. I think Eddie wins this one.
I'm also going to take myself. Never bet against yourself, Billy.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad you have confidence. I hope you lose. All right. And moving on to the next one. You want to take this one?
Versus Hunter Champions. Hunter Champions got Justin Herbert at quarterback. Love that. Obviously, top 2 fantasy quarterback in the league. Najee Harris at running back. I really love that. He's going to be overused early in the season, I imagine. Looks like he's got Devontae Adams and Chris Godwin and Traylon Burks at wide receiver. This is Hunter of Champions. Hasn't set his lineup. You have to imagine Devontae Adams is in there, especially with Chris Godwin being questionable for this weekend. Hunter Champions at defensive tackles got Grady Jarrett. Again, he's a Mr. Consistent. He's going to get you. He did get like 20 last year, so maybe with the point upgrades, he's like 25, 30 this year. Who knows? He's also got Vita Vea for Tampa Bay. I don't know who he's going to start, but those are 2 solid defensive tackles. Linebackers, he's got Devondre Campbell with Green Bay. I actually think he's going to have a really good year. And David Long in Tennessee. Let's see. He's got Winfield in his as safety. I imagine that's who he's going to start. I don't think he'll start Marcus May or Daxton Hill over Winfield. And so Winfield's going to be out there opposite of Logan Ryan, who you just mentioned with my team. So Tampa Bay's got 2 really, really good safeties. I think Winfield has a great week. Let's see. And then Levitar Lobos, Matthew Stafford, probably going to be top 5 fantasy quarterback this year. I think he's going to have a really, really good year again. After last year, running back, he's got Antonio Gibson. I imagine that's who he's going to start. Maybe he starts Damian Harris. Either one of those guys, I'm not super high on. Like Damian Harris, he's in an offense that runs the ball a lot, and even so, he only averaged 23 last year. So I'm not huge on Gibson or Harris. He's got Rashad Bateman. He's probably going to be pretty good in Baltimore. Let's see who else. His linebackers, he's got Tremaine Edmonds and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah, that's a tough one to say.
Yeah, jeez.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, or I don't know.
Yeah, I really like Hunter of Champions this week. That's what I'm going with. Justin Herbert, Najee Harris, and Devontae Adams. That offense is just going to be too much. I'm really excited to see how that goes this week. So I'm just taking Hunter of Champions.
Yeah, my biggest take on Hunter of Champions, also with that offense, he's got Devondre Campbell, which last year was a absolute stud. Absolute stud. So yeah, I'm liking Hunter of Champions as well in this one. I like his team. I think he has a lot of potential. I just think he needs to figure out his defense a little more. I mean, it may surprise me. I hope he does. But I think I'm going to hate Hunter and Champions in this one.
All right. Next matchup, Afternoon Delights in the third leg. Quarterback for Afternoon Delights, we got Patrick Mahomes, and he's going against Jalen Hurts the third leg. They're both going to go off this week. But, again, like I said earlier, I just am not the biggest fan of Jalen Hurts. I know he's going to get a lot of points in fantasy. I don't know. I think it's just a personal thing I have to get over, but I'm not going to get over it today. I have to take Patrick Mahomes in that matchup. Running back, Afternoon Delights, got Nick Chubb. Third leg's got Alvin Kamara. Since Alvin Kamara he's not suspended this year, which is great for him and great for the Saints. So hopefully he has a big year. And Nick Chubb, I I think he's always going to be really, really good. Obviously, having to. What, my phone just froze. Oh, we're back. I'm probably going to take Alvin Kamara in this matchup. I really think he's going to have a heavy workload. He's going to be incorporated in the passing game like he always is. So I think Alvin Kamara takes that one. At wide receiver, we got DJ Moore for Afternoon Delight versus Tyreek Hill of the third leg. Just too many question marks of how they're going to use Tyreek Hill in Miami for me right now. I think that he's going to be a huge piece. He's going to have a great year, but right now, I just have to go DJ Moore. He's been the guy. He's got a new quarterback. So I like DJ.
So you
Moore.
think DJ Moore, even with the question mark of Baker Mayfield being on the field,
I love
DJ Moore.
I'm going DJ Moore without a doubt. I think he may overthrow him a few times, but he's still the guy he's going to be overthrowing, if you know what I mean. So
I understand.
He's still going to be targeting him. Defensive end, Khalil Mack on a new team. That Chargers defense is loaded. Khalil Mack, I think, will have a good day versus Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick's just, golly, that's a tough matchup. I think that one's a toss-up. But I'm going to keep with my theme of this prediction, so I'm going to go Khalil Mack. Linebackers, it looks like he's got Afternoon Delights is flexing a linebacker, so he's got Devin Lloyd, who I don't know much about, and then Isaiah Simmons. And then on third leg, he's got Micah Parsons and Jerome Baker. I'm really high on Micah Parsons. I think he has a great second year. And so I think he just keeps growing into a stud linebacker in this league. So I like the third leg, especially I like Jerome Baker too in Miami. So the third leg's my linebacker core takes it for me. And then at safety, third leg has Kareem Jackson from Denver, and Afternoon Delight's got Von Bell. I like Von Bell's matchup this week. Maybe he gets I think he may get a pick or two. Same thing with Jesse Bates. I think either Jesse Bates or Von Bell is going to have one or two picks this week just because I don't know who's going to play quarterback for Pittsburgh, but it's not going to be Big Ben. So
that is true. But who's playing quarterback in Seattle? Geno Smith.
Is Geno Smith, he got the start?
Yes.
Hey, I love Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith's going to do great. Last year when Russell Wilson got hurt, he put together a couple good games. So, with all that being said, I'm taking Afternoon Delight.
Taking Afternoon Delight. Okay. I don't mind that. I personally, I'm taking third leg. I think that all of his pieces that he put together this year are they very well fit together. And I like his backups as well. I mean, he's got Tony Pollard, DK Metcalf. I'm liking third leg's team a lot this year. I'm going to go third leg.
Also, should be worth mentioning, but third leg does have Tony Pollard, and so if something happens to which would be unfortunate for me, but eventually Zeke is going to pass that torch over to Tony Pollard. If it happens this year, third leg now has a fantastic flex option. So I do think he has a good team, but I think Afternoon Delight gets him here. All right, and then we got Sandstorm Troopers and Steel Curtain. Steel Curtain just had a blockbuster trade, or I thought it was blockbuster because I didn't think he was going to move Eckler. But so he traded for Roquan Smith, so he's got Roquan. Roquan's questionable right now. Billy, have you heard anything? I believe he's probably going to be good to go, if I had to guess, for the Steel Curtain.
I'll check it out.
Okay. But Steel Curtain at quarterback for this matchup. Steel Curtain's got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, back-to-back MVP, he's a stud. Doesn't have Devontae Adams, but you're not the back-to-back MVP unless you know what you're doing. And he's as a lot of people's opinion, Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback of all time. So I think he's still going to put up monster numbers. He doesn't necessarily need Devontae Adams. Maybe a little bit of a drop-off this year. And when I say need, I mean for fantasy purposes. It'll hurt them as a team for sure. But Aaron Rodgers, and then Sandstorm Troopers has got Tom Brady. Again, they're both studs. Two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time going against each other. Again, I have a question mark with Brady. I don't know how he's going to look week one. I know he's going to be ready. For me to ever question Tom Brady would be the worst thing I could ever do. Golly, I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. I think Tom has a great game, but Aaron Rodgers wins that matchup. Steel Curtain. Now, after they got rid of Eckler, he He's starting Travis Etienne, and he also has Josh Jacobs as a backup. So I think his running back core is low key very, very good. Travis Etienne now is going to be healthy. Hopefully, he stays healthy all year. I think if he stays healthy, he dominates that backfield in Jacksonville. He gets a lot of the touches we saw in college. Travis Etienne's a great receiving back. I love Travis Etienne. I think the projection of 21 points is lowballing the crap out of him. I really love him. I think he has a great game. And then also on the other side, Sandstorm Troopers has Javonte Williams, who is the clear number one in Denver now. So that's two really, really good matchups. I'm gonna lean Javonte Williams for week one, just because just Travis Etienne coming off of his injury and everything. I'm not quite sure what that offense is going to look like this year with him back there. So I'm just going with Javonte Williams because I've seen him. Wide receiver, Sandstorm Troopers has got Michael Pittman, Steel Curtain. Looks like he's starting Michael Thomas. Welcome back, Michael Thomas. I'm excited to see him this year. I really think he's going to do well, but how is he going to do with Jameis? I'm not sure. Sandstorm Troopers, Michael Pittman. He's last year, kind of in my eyes, kind of established himself as a pretty good wide receiver. So I kind of like Michael Pittman in this matchup for Sandstorm Troopers. Defensive line, Sandstorm Troopers is starting Leonard Williams with the Giants. He's questionable. I think he'll play. I haven't read anything major on him. And then defensive line for Steel Curtain is Von Miller.
Before you say Von Miller's a lock, he's got TJ Watt on the bench.
Oh, isn't TJ Watt? He was questionable, right?
Yeah, he's questionable right now. Let's see.
Yeah, I was reading that and I was like, wait a second, Steel Curtain.
I would assume TJ Watt's starting because right now I'm looking at it and it's showing that he just fixed his contract, reconstructed his contract.
Perfect.
Yeah, he'll be good.
So I'm taking TJ Watt, and then if TJ Watt doesn't play, I kind of like Leonard Williams, but TJ Watt is going to play in my opinion. Sandstorm Troopers have Devin White. Last year, Billy famously traded him away. He was frustrated that Devin White wasn't performing well, and then Devin White proceeded to have 76 the next week, which is hilarious. So
yeah, that's my luck.
Devin White for the Sandstorm Troopers, and the Steel Curtain has Roquan Smith. Both absolute studs. I like Roquan Smith's matchup. He's going to get 40. Sandstorm Troopers, Jeremy Chin, Jordan Whitehead, and the defensive back. Love Jeremy Chin. He's going to have a great year. Jordan Whitehead, another stud safety for the Jets. And Steel Curtain, he has Terrell Edmonds. I like Sandstorm Troopers. I like his safety and his flex. Who is Steel Curtain technically flexing? Okay. Damian Wilson, Carolina linebacker. So I lean Sandstorm Troopers for flex. With all that being said, it's going to be a pretty good game. But if TJ Watt starts, I think Steel Curtain wins by 20. If Von Miller starts for Steel Curtain, I think it's a toss-up. I just think I really am high on Travis Etienne. I really am. And Roquan Smith this week. So I think matchups, I got to take Steel Curtain.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you, man. Steel Curtain's, his team's looking pretty good. I know he's got, just like a lot of other people right now, week one, we have a lot of question marks. But, I mean, all in all, I like his defense. I like the way it's set up. Damian Wilson is kind of questionable. I would say you could find a better flex than Damian Wilson. Now, I do like him as a linebacker. Of course, I'm a Carolina fan. I like Sandstorm Troopers flexes a lot better than Jeremy Chin, Jordan Whitehead. I don't think Sandstorm Troopers has a terrible team by no means. It's a very close matchup in my opinion. But I'm going to have to say Steel Curtain in this one as well, if TJ Watt plays.
Nice.
All right, moving on to the next matchup. Guardians of the Gridiron, which is Peyton, versus Burrow's Body Count, which is Zach. These guys have a lot of history. Of course, roommates, two of my roommates for a while. They're going head-to-head this week, and with this matchup, they both have pretty new teams. Zach is still rocking the stack with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, so that's going to be a really good benefit for him. Peyton's got Baker Mayfield at quarterback. Baker Mayfield is looking pretty good this year. He's got a brand new team. Me being a Carolina fan, I have all the hopes for him. I hope our team does fantastic with Baker. Excuse me. With Baker, it's really a toss-up whether or not he's going to perform in fantasy like he's supposed to. I mean, Carolina has always had a interesting offense with their last few quarterbacks not producing the fantasy value that we like. But I'm hoping that Baker does perform. We have James Conner versus Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has always been inconsistent. Inconsistency has killed Aaron Jones games for the last few years. But James Conner has been that touchdown guy. He's been the goal line guy. He's going to get you in the end zone. So for that, I'm going to say James Conner takes that one. So Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase. I like Stephon Diggs in this one. I think Josh Allen is going to ball out this year once again, and Stephon Diggs is going to be that number one guy. So I'm going to take Stephon Diggs. Draymond Jones, defensive end, versus Nick Bosa. That's a no-brainer. I'm going to go Nick Bosa. Fred Warner, Nick Bolton. I'm going to take Fred Warner. He's going to be that number one guy in San Francisco. Nick Bolton is still coming up as the linebacker in Kansas City. So Kevin Byard at safety, Justin Reed at safety. I'm liking Kevin Byard in this one, although Justin Reed is a pretty good production guy in Kansas City. I like his matchup with Arizona. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. But I'm going to take Kevin Byard just because the Giants are still struggling in the offensive game. So, and then at flex, we have Zach Cunningham versus Kenny Moore. I can never pick Kenny Moore or he'll do terrible. So I'm going to pick Zach Cunningham as a flex. And all in all, I'm going to take Peyton in this matchup. It's a close one. I think Zach has a great team, but I am going to say Peyton's going to take this one. I think it's going to be close, though. I'm going to say 250, 260. Zach's going to lose by probably 10 or 15. What do you think? Hey. All right. And our next matchup is going to be Shuttlecocks versus the Barnyard. So the Barnyard's put together a terrific team this year, in my opinion. He drafted very well. He played the free agency very well. Starting at quarterback, he's got Russell Wilson. He's going against Dak Prescott. That is a fantastic matchup. Russell Wilson going against Seattle. There's a very questionable defense, and it's a revenge game for Russell Wilson. I think I'm going to have to take Russell Wilson in that one just because it is the scenery. It's the perfect setup for Russell Wilson to have a fantastic day. Although Dak Prescott is going to put up very good numbers against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay does have a good defense, though. So, like I said, I'm going to take Russell Wilson in that one. Running backs, we have Leonard Fournette versus Devin Singletary. I'm going to have to take Leonard Fournette in that one because he has established himself as the running back one in Tampa Bay. Devin Singletary has been splitting carries with two other running backs. He's also not exactly their goal line guy in Buffalo. It looks like their goal line guy is looking to be Zach Moss, who's also involved in their passing game. So he's definitely splitting touches there. He's not a definite number one in Buffalo, so I'm going to take Leonard Fournette in that matchup. Wide receiver, Shuttlecocks has Justin Jefferson, a stud wide receiver, versus Keenan Allen. Even though Keenan Allen does see a lot of productivity with Justin Herbert throwing to him, I'm going to take Justin Jefferson. He's going to see the most amount of targets, maybe than any other receiver this year. So Justin Jefferson is definitely going to be a good option there. Defensive tackle, Shuttlecocks has Cameron Hayward, who has always been very solid, going against Trey Hendrickson, who is going to be a rookie this year. I definitely think that both of these guys, Sorry, Trey Henderson is not a rookie. I apologize. But going against both of these guys, Cameron Hayward has been the more consistent player over the years. He's always had good seasons year in, year out. For Pittsburgh, I think Cameron Hayward is going to be, once again, pretty good this year as a veteran. Linebacker, Bobby Wagner versus TJ Edwards. I think I have to go Bobby Wagner in this one. Bobby Wagner has always been a stud. He's going to perform on his new LA team this year as that centerpiece for their defense. TJ Edwards is not a bad pickup. Of course, he has some big games, but TJ Edwards may not be the same player as last year because they've had so many defensive moves in the Eagles defense last year. So I'm going to take Bobby Wagner in this one. And for safety, we have Taylor Rapp or Jalen Thompson versus Jamal Adams and Derwin James. So, as Pat mentioned in the last podcast, Jamal Adams and Derwin James are the best DB core that I have seen in this league in a long time. I love Barnyard's defensive backs. I think both of them are going to have better games than the two that are on Shuttlecock's team. Jalen Thompson and Taylor Rapp are still really good defensive backs, but Barnyard has the leg up on just about this entire lineup. So, with that being said, I'm going to take Barnyard in this one. I think Eddie actually fell off. He had to leave. So I'm going to finish these last two matchups, this very last matchup without him. I have his picks. For the last matchup, Step Bros Fantasy Company versus Jiu-Jitsu Jesus. And so that's going to be Justin Fields at quarterback versus Matt Jones. Matt Jones is, of course, coming on his second year at New England. Matt Jones did produce fairly well last year. He had some good games, but he also had some bad games. As much as I hate to say it, I think Justin Fields coming in for Chicago did not have the greatest year last year. I think he has that versatility that a good fantasy quarterback needs versus Mac Jones is more of a run and gun kind of guy. I'm going to take Justin Fields in this one, even though, like I said, the production that he had last year wasn't the greatest. I think he has a good turnaround year. At running back, we have David Montgomery, or Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to say David Montgomery for Step Bros. Versus Mike Davis, playing for Baltimore. I think in this one I'm going to go David Montgomery because he is the true RB1 in Chicago. Mike Davis has not exactly proven himself in Baltimore yet. He's also sharing a running back room with J.K. Dobbins, who will be coming off an injury pretty soon. Gus Edwards, who is also injured right now. All of these guys will be coming back very soon. For this Week 1 matchup against the Jets, Mike Davis might have a breakout game, where he does perform pretty well. But David Montgomery is going to be your number one guy, your go-to guy in Chicago. So I'm going to take David Montgomery in that one. Wide receiver, we have Deebo Samuel versus Deontay Johnson. That's a no-brainer. Deebo Samuel is going to go off this season. He's just got a freshly new contract with San Francisco. He is ready to go. I'm going to take Deebo Samuel. Aaron Donald versus Aiden Hutchinson, who is the rookie this year. I'm going to take Aaron Donald just because he's proven himself. At linebacker, we have Shaq Thompson versus Kaiser White. I'm going to take, in that one, Kaiser White, just because last year he had a phenomenal season, and the way his defense is set up right now, I think he is definitely going to pick up where he left off for Philadelphia. Shaq Thompson, again, coming off a pretty good season last year. Had some injuries, up and down problems. So I think he's going to come out against a run-heavy Cleveland offense he's probably going to score pretty well. Still going to take Kaiser White in this one. At safety, we have Adrian Amos for Brissett Bros. Then we have J-Ron Curse for Dallas. I'm going to take Adrian Amos in that matchup. He's prone to get more tackles. J-Ron Curse did have a pretty good season last year for Dallas. But I will say that I'm thinking Adrian Amos is going to produce a little more this year than he did last year. He's going to have a bounce back year. So I'm going to say Adrian Amos in this one, even though it's a close, really good matchup. Andrew Wingard, safety for Jacksonville. He's on a new team this year. I think he's actually going to produce pretty well. However, with Jonathan Abram, the way he's playing recently, I have to take Jonathan Abram. So, all in all, for this one, I think I'm going to take Jiu-Jitsu Jesus in this matchup. I like his team really well. I think that Jiu-Jitsu Jesus is going to be a great addition. Jiu-Jitsu Jesus is going to perform pretty well. Okay. We will be back next week for wrapping up all the matchups, seeing who won, who lost. We'll also be covering more information about what's going on around the league, kind of trades going, waiver pickups, that kind of thing. Please give us feedback, let us know how we did.